I go to the gym basically every day, and I'm obviously a student, so I kind of have a budget, right? And skipjack canned tuna has like at least 25 grams of protein, 20 grams of protein, and I absolutely love it, and I have it every day for breakfast. But the more I've kind of researched your work, the more I'm realizing, is it actually safe to have that amount like 7 days a week? And how would I know, or how would someone know who's also eating a similar amount of something high in mercury, how they know whether they're like that's healthy or not for them, like what the
It's a
symptoms?
great question. And even when you said cans of skipjack, you're now also getting the canned liner. Typically, not always, but certainly the plastic epoxy lining is part of every canned food or drink, even if it's organic. I know you have that in your country as well. But the idea that we have to think about so many things, what I did with the book that I wrote was I really wanted to walk people through sort of what are the big things to think about, the big ticket items, and then you would sort of walk yourself through. Now, what you're describing is a habit. And when I think about habits, I think to myself, that's a high load exposure, right? Because you're doing it every day, you're used to it, it's hard to change habits. And so that's something where I would explore whether or not you could find that same food in glass. I would also, perhaps you just, look to see where, if they're doing mercury testing on that brand. It's a kind of a thing now for some of the even the biggest companies will do mercury testing. They won't necessarily do microplastics because that's not a thing yet in manufacturing. And they don't do PCBs. But the idea is one of the key things is to see whether or not you could even test your own whole blood mercury level. And in fact, in the book in the United States here, and you guys have it in the UK now, detoxify. So the equivalent of what are called ICD-10 codes are the codes that doctors put on a script to go to the lab that's covered by insurance here in the US, and that justifies why that test was ordered. And I give that here in the States, and so you can really ask your healthcare provider, whoever prescribes labs, to see if they will do a random whole blood, mercury level as just one indicator of maybe you're getting too much. But there's, again, you want to live your life, you want to have your protein. I know I got two teenage guys that go to the gym every day, but you want to try to find clean sources of protein. And there's also a lot of USDA organic sources of powdered protein, of other types of, whole chicken and fish and meat. You can even get plant-based protein. And so I would say maybe you want to mix it up a little bit, but you can certainly check at your labs to see if that's something that's affecting you.
Yeah, so do you have any kind of suggestions of things to like completely replace the tuna with for breakfast, for
Oh, well, like I
example?
said, if you're not vegan, then I like to look at, whole, chicken breast, chicken thighs. I would say if you can get organic or the equivalent of, processed properly, chickens and poultry, turkey. I think the smaller fish, herring, sardines, a lot of them are even packaged. I think they're gross, but whatever. I mean, my people love these things, but small fish in glass, packed in glass, I think is a really nice way herring. All of these things can be done in a reasonable way, and you can kind of mix it up. But certainly, protein comes in lots of different packages, and you can, get dairy sources. I do a lot of cottage cheese. I happen to love cottage cheese that's organic. Hummus has a lot of protein. So there's lots of different sources you can vary it up, I think.
What about whey protein? Have you done any research on that? What's in that?
Yeah, whey protein doesn't in any way bother me in any way. It's just more quality. I look through, so much of our environment, even on social media, is macros. It's like how much protein, how much fat, whole 30, keto diets, Mediterranean. I mean, you name the diet, Atkins, whatever. There's always a fad, right? And it's always about the macros of what you're eating. I worry far less about macros as I do the quality. And when I think quality, I think about where it's sourced, how it's packaged. I think about whether or not it's USDA organic, which is the only food certification we have in this country, in the US, because we have nothing else in terms of oversight, really, in terms of the food industry. Yeah, it's a real problem here because they've been grandfathered in thousands, actually around 12,000 estimated food chemicals that are food additives that are allowable, which have never really been tested for safety or toxicity. I mean, even dating back to 1958 with the food amendment that passed, which didn't do anything. So the idea is that we have very little regulation and oversight, but USDA organic certification took 10 years to bring to the market, and actually really is something we can all benefit from here in the States. I know the equivalent in the UK and Europe, has the same criteria, similar, and really does a great job.